What's up?
To another
There you
good
go.
episode of Two Smooth Operators,
Too smooth.
the only podcast about gate operator life
Oh, is it?
for
Is it the only
technicians.
podcast?
Your hosts, Michael Brooks and Robert Evers. Stay tuned for another
I
great
might
episode.
Hey, there we go.
What's going on?
Man, not much. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing good, man. Freezing. It's cold.
I know you told me that you were out there in the snow, wind, and ice.
Yeah, it's been cold, man. It's crazy what's going on.
Got service calls that you was out running today.
Yeah, I had three gates with ice all over it. And so I had to go out there and just run the gate back and forth manually, and then you know got them working. They started working fine after I did that.
V tracks or cantilevers or what?
Cantilever gates, chain drive.
Man, I don't know if you noticed this, but I'm in a new studio now.
Are you? I
Yeah,
thought something looked different.
they booted me out. They was telling me I had to pay rent and everything. No,
Oh
Brian,
no.
he moved the glass the studio that we were in. He's got another setup in it, so
Okay.
it took over that space. So now I've got like 700 square feet. So I don't even have the acoustics ready or anything yet.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You sound good.
All right.
Sound good so
Cool.
far.
Yeah, I brought all my all same microphone and all that stuff. Well, today, man, it's a very special day because we're going to talk about one of my favorite things, man, and that's marketing.
Marketing. You are the marketing man. You love it.
I love it just because it's one of those things where you can discriminate and nobody should take offense to it. So I don't need to sell you a gate operator if you're renting an apartment, that type of
Yeah.
thing. So you might not be my ideal customer. So anyways, yeah, that's what I like about it is it's really focused on what people are thinking and how you can get them to be on your side and then maybe even hopefully an evangelist and turn leads over to you. So
Mhm.
marketing is my favorite thing. What are you doing for marketing for the gate and the fence part of it?
I got a website, um, everselectricgates.com. And then, that's pretty much all we've been doing. And I just done my Google listing a couple weeks ago, and I'm working with that, trying to get that right. Um,
On your
and
Google business page?
yeah, yeah, I'm having little issues with that, but I'm working on that. But
Just getting it authorized or just building it?
I got it authorized, but it ain't showing up right now. So I got to get some people going to it, and um,
Well, man, if we only had somebody who knew how to do that really well and it was their profession, man, if we could only find that
yeah.
person.
Well, if I could
And
find somebody to do that, that would be great.
do you by any chance have anybody in your Rolodex that actually could
Yeah,
possibly
man.
do it?
I got Mr. Barry Nix over here. Door domination, man.
The door, gate, and fence domination, man. He's getting it
Yeah.
done on all three corners of our businesses.
Yes.
Well, we
Right.
want to welcome Barry Nix to the show. Barry actually was at the IDA Expo, I think a couple years ago, or last year, and one of the posts that he put out on social media to thank all the people that he had met and show them some love actually popped up in my news feed, and I was just like, I thought it was pretty unique to say, hey, I missed you guys. If I didn't get a chance to talk to you, let me know. Here's my phone number. Call me now, right? Which is how I do my stuff on YouTube. It's just like, call me if it's something I can help you with. Great, and if not, so we welcome the door, the gate, and the fence dominator, Barry Nix. So, Barry, how are you doing, sir?
Yeah, good. Thanks for having me. This is really an honor. You guys are a trip. I saw this maybe a couple months ago for the first time, and I thought that is one cool ass name. So
I don't
I
know if
was,
we live up to it.
I was immediately drawn to it. I thought this is great. This is super. I can't think. Is there another podcast for gate operators?
Not right now.
Hey guys.
N- Not that I've seen. I mean, I'm sure there will be one that pops up when they see all the millions and millions of dollars that we're
Yeah.
making from
Yeah,
it.
we're filthy rich.
Look at these offices,
Yeah,
man. You
yeah,
know.
that's awesome.
Yeah, no, we it was really just Robert and I always had a connection through the gate operator stuff, and we had always thought that, hey, man, this would be a great way for us to just talk about some of the most basic stuff, and if we could just help one or two guys or gals a podcast, then that would be great. So. That's why we've been doing it. As a matter of fact, a lot of people talk about doing it, but few people do it, and that's why Robert and I have actually clicked. We want to do it all the time.
That's
So
great.
that sounded a little creepy, but yeah, we want to do the podcast all the time. So, anyways, so
Yeah.
yeah, you got you. I had to put that
Understand.
little asterisk. Pat says, "What's up, gentlemen?" So, Barry, I'll be putting stuff in the chat, and I'll be popping in if anybody's got any questions for Barry. As a matter of fact, I'm going to go ahead and put the live link in the chat. If anybody wants to jump on and ask Barry a question, there's a live link in the chat on Facebook and YouTube right now. If you got a question for him, now would be the time to do it. It's free consulting. Do it while you can get it for
So
free, right?
That's
so
right.
Barry, explain to us what you're doing now.
So yeah, I mean, I have an agency, um, and it's a digital marketing agency that specifically focuses like on the access and security industry. So it's garage gates and fences. Access, you know, this is the industry that you guys are in. I chose to get one. I went hard and do SEO and PPC campaigns. Local service ads is popular. Also, all meta, I would say meta, Google Ads, LSA, hard and organic. We really started with organic. So like what you were talking about with Google, get your set up and had, if you're having questions with that, getting it set up. That's what we do for our clients is get their organic, right? The visibility and online presence up and running correctly so that they get leads from their website and from their Google business maps, as well as if they want to, if they're aggressive or want to move fast, we call that like go fast and look sexy, and compared to the slow model, which is less expensive. The organic stuff, that would be Google is the king of all, lead generation online. And then Facebook is awesome for that, as well as Nextdoor sponsored ads on the Nextdoor platform. So we have different.
How have your Go ahead, Barry.
We just, we try to fit people in instead of necessarily specific packages. What are your needs? How can you be helped? Like, what are your main pain points, and how can we help find solutions for those?
I don't know if you use Nextdoor, Robert, but I have in the past organically. So I would just go home, log on after doing scheduled service, still drenched in that hot Texas sun with sweat, and just go on Nextdoor. And then I just had a couple of searches that I would do, automatic gate, and then somebody would pop on in my neighborhood and type in automatic gate, and I would try to get back to them as quick as possible. But you had 10 other people doing it as well too. How has that Nextdoor ads been for you? Because you brought it up when we were talking earlier, and I didn't even think about it. But if you're putting that much status on it to mention it out of the 10 things that we talked about, is it doing well for your clients?
I would say it does well for most. If you have any type of a presence on Nextdoor organically, like you set up your business page and you get some reviews and you get some people talking about you, it's a very powerful tool organically. The sponsored ads aren't really that expensive, which is it's a target niche audience for you guys. because most of the people who are signed up and have, Nextdoor on their phone are people that live in neighborhoods and live in houses in neighborhoods that care about their homes. People go on and go to the Nextdoor app whenever their dog gets lost.
Yeah.
Right.
And I did it 3 times last year where my dog gets out of my gate and I go post his picture and say, anybody see my dog? And that, or like if somebody's walking around in your neighborhood selling something, they're gonna, the housewife down the road is gonna get on there and she's creeping out the window looking to see, well, let me report this guy, and that way everybody's aware. That's cool. That's what people are on Nextdoor who live in houses that live in neighborhoods, which is your target audience. So if you're a fence or a gate contractor, it's a lesser expensive platform because they don't have as many subscribers. Think about how many people are on Nextdoor compared to how many people are on Facebook, right? A massive difference, but it is a very target audience, and they don't charge as much. It's a pay per impression platform. It doesn't, you don't pay per lead or per click. So to answer your question, Michael, it's been really good most of the time. Sometimes it's a little glitchy. Sometimes we have to work with our rep at Nextdoor to get it straightened out. Whenever they do algorithm updates, the ads can definitely get off kilter and they don't work consistently. Like Facebook really hardly ever screws up. Like it's pretty consistent, right? But they have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of software engineers and developers and programmers. I don't know how big the back end of Nextdoor is, but I would say it's really good for the money. It's another marketing pillar. It's another way to get your name out there. It's another way to be omnipresent online.
Robert, are you using Nextdoor?
No, I haven't never used it.
You would crush it in your area. Barry, Robert's in a area where he's almost, the whole thing. From what Robert's explained to me, is like there's not very many people that are out there in his area. What'd you say, Robert? There's only a few guys that are actually doing the gate operator stuff in a small radius in your area.
Yeah, yeah. You have garage door companies, but they mainly do garage doors, and they do gate operators too. But their main focus is garage doors. And then I'm fencing in gate operators, and I service them. And so I'm in the fencing, and I focus on doing gate operators. And so I get a lot of service calls during the week and stuff. So
Especially when it's
yeah,
low,
I
right?
went on three of them, right before I came here.
I mean, Nextdoor it has to be set up. I get a lot of people that will hear me talk about Nextdoor or read what I've written about it or whatever, and they'll try it and it's not successful because there's a specific way you have to set it up. And you can't, just a pro tip, if you put a sponsored ad on Nextdoor, don't point it to your business page on Nextdoor. So you'll have your own business page, like your organic page. Don't send it there. It won't convert as well. You need to send it to like a landing page or the home page of your website if it's set up similarly to a landing page where it's just super simple. Call me or send an inquiry through this contact form. It'll work much better. It also works better if you're not giving, like, say, a discount on the installation of a new gate or a new fence, but on a repair or on a maintenance, something like that, tends to work better. And like a gate operator tune-up. Now, and being a person that owns a gate and a gate operator, and every year in Texas when it freezes and my gate stops working and I have to call my gate guy and I get gouged in the eyeballs with,
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's like I just want to
Thank you.
Yeah. I know I'm going to get donkey punched in the face with that's like,
I'm sorry, man.
whatever.
I'm not. I'm not.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, it's worth it to do like a $49 or $99 or $149 tune-up, just to get out there, to get your technician or get somebody there to service the thing. And currently I need a new fence. It's something I keep putting off.
Yeah.
But that's a great way to segue into like, hey, you realize your fence looks like absolutely hell over here, and let's Let me give you a quote on that. And so,
Well, yeah,
if you have technicians
that works out
sitting
well for
there,
me because I'm, doing gates and fencing, and a lot of times I'm doing a front entrance, put a fence up in a gate,
yeah,
and boom.
yeah, and we're running also ads heavily on Meta ads. If you are a gate contractor that is design, fabrication, the putting it, the powder coating, the installation, you're selling them the operator. Beautiful. There's some gorgeous gates. And what is it to put, $500 off of any new gate, drive gate? Well, that thing's going to be however many thousands of dollars, maybe $250. But we run ads on Facebook and Instagram, and with those, you kind of have to have a call to action to get the phone to ring. But it's I would say probably $35, $40 a lead on Facebook, real converted lead.
Hmm.
And that's eliminating all the spam leads.
Yeah.
So when we set up our clients' campaigns on Meta, you know how you can, like, if you click to submit, the little window pops up and it to submit your information, and it's autofill where it autofills your information. We take that away so the customer has to type in their name and their email and their mobile number, and then when they click submit, our client will get like a text message and say, you just got a lead on Facebook, or you just got a lead from next door, and we're using AI to text message from your company to the homeowner who submitted the information.
Okay.
So if you're in the middle of, like you were today, repairing 3 gates, your phone's going off, or let's say somebody submitted a lead from Facebook, speed to the lead is crucial. How fast you communicate with them is the difference of that $40 lead being worth it or not. And it could, you can blow your nose with that money and throw it in the trash, or you can capture the lead. So we've started integrating this last year AI, so that right when that lead comes in, they get a text message. They think it's somebody, and like a CSR in your office texting them saying, hey, how can we help you today? This is Ashley with, Barry's Gates, Fences and Gates. Um, and they're not. They're text messaging with an AI agent, an artificial intelligence robot that's text messaging with them, and we've trained that thing so that it actually communicates with the homeowner, gets the appointment time, what's the best day for you, what's the best time, what's going on with your gate, can you take a picture of it, of what's going on, and text it back to me so we can see how we can
Yeah.
help you. And then you're notified, and then from your phone, you can log on to it, pause the AI and call them, or pause the AI conversation and start texting with them directly on your own. It is
Yeah,
awesome.
that's cool
And
because
that
when
really
we
helps.
contact people, we want them to send pictures. Text me your pictures of your gate. Take me pictures of your gate operator and
Can
hinges and stuff like
can
that.
Right.
can AI do that on the Meta ads like that? Like, hey, we appreciate the opportunity. We want to service you as fast as possible. Can you please text pictures to this number, or already have it populated to where they're doing it? And just real quickly, because I always love free consulting, would you say that the majority of these people that are making these decisions, Robert's laughing, he knows I'm cheap. Would you say that the majority of these people that are making these decisions, would you say 60, 70, 80% are doing it on mobile? How much of the decision making is made on mobile, or is that even a metric you guys are concerned with?
The search is about 80 or maybe 75, 80% of all search, I would guess, is online. I don't know. Maybe I've heard so many different numbers. The majority of search is online. That's for
Yeah.
sure.
Okay.
The decision making is done between a conversation of someone at your company, whether it be you or somebody in your office or a technician, and the homeowner, unless they already know you and like you and trust you and they've used you before, like my gate guy, that donkey kicks me in between the eyeballs every time. my gate messes up and it's $1,000 here and it's $1,000 there. It's fine. He's one of my clients, so I don't mind it.
Well,
But yeah, I mean the sale is done when they call you. Now you can install, like if you use a CRM, you can put on your Google Business profile, you can put it on your website, an online booking link where somebody can go straight into your calendar and book an appointment with you. I just did it yesterday because my refrigerator is kind of messing up and it'll go on, it'll go off. So I went on search and I found a Sub-Zero like approved like company, the appliance company in Dallas, and I booked an appointment. I didn't call them. I didn't even read their website. I was like, "Are you approved by certified by Sub-Zero?" Yes. Okay. And I booked an appointment. They'll be here tomorrow at I think 2:30 to 2 to 4. So why wouldn't they do that with a gate? They would. Now, if they have questions, they'll call you. But that can be done also through this bot because we train the bot to answer questions. And it's not perfect. If it doesn't know, it'll say, "I'm not sure. I'll ask the owner and get back with you, or I'll have somebody call you." Well, if you're notified and you can pick up the phone, half the sale or half of that stuff you got to get through has already been asked.
Well, I know you were talking about getting beat up on the fence and gate stuff. If I only knew somebody that was in the Dallas Fort Worth area and could beat you up on your fence and gate. Oh, I do know somebody. Hey, this is my buddy Brian Davis is one of my good friends, and Brian's based out of Kaufman, right, Brian?
Terrell.
When you get that far out, it doesn't matter, Brian. We don't care that much about distinguishing that. We're just surprised that you got electricity out there.
Man, we've lucked out. It's pretty cold, but we've managed to hold on to the power. Thank goodness.
So Brian, you've talked to me a couple of times about your website that you do, and you do most of that stuff internally, or do you have another service that does it?
No, I haven't. I do use a service that builds my websites. For several years, I did my own. It still worked out pretty good, but I just got tired of maintaining it myself. And so, yeah, I chose to go the path to have someone else manage the site and take care of all the groundwork on it.
And Barry, do you do all the management and all that stuff, or do we got to go back in and update plugins and all that stuff?
We do the updates and the maintenance every month for our clients.
Gotcha.
So we build the site. Once we build the site, we're adding pages to the site every month. So it's like a growing, evolving online, brochure. Your website just keeps it goes from a brochure to a book. And so, for example, you're in Kaufman County.
Correct.
Right. So do you service Mesquite and East Dallas and Murphy and Plano and all that too?
For referrals, I will go out that amount of work right here where I'm at in Kaufman County. Maybe it's because I rank pretty good. But a lot of people find me through my website, and so I get a decent amount of work right here where I'm at, pretty close. But I will go to Dallas and Mesquite on occasion.
Yeah. So on most of our websites, we would take your service area, whatever that may be, whether it's the whole metropolitan statistical area, which for you would be kind of ridiculous because it's just so massive. But we like to have a city in each county in your service area on your website. But to answer your question, we do all the maintenance and updates. We build it, keep adding to it. And for example, like we even rebuild sections of your website. We build it from the manufacturer site. So if you have Maxim controls or LiftMaster gate operators, we rebuild those pages for those gate operators on your website. Same thing with all the access control pieces of it as well. That way, if you have a customer you're selling or that's interested in that stuff, you don't have to send them to the manufacturer site to get the information. It's right there on your site. Because if they fill out the information, and they get referred to 3 or 4 or 5 other authorized dealers, you may or may not have lost that lead.
Brian, what's the biggest challenge you've found in the whole website game? Because I know you run a couple of different websites. What's your biggest challenge day to day with websites?
Challenge as far as what, getting the work or getting started. I guess that's getting started is probably one of the hardest things to do. It has to get out there. And y'all mentioned earlier, you were talking about getting found. Barry said something about it didn't take long, and somebody would, for you to, you'll start getting referrals once people start talking about you. That's, that really is how it happens. Even if you have to pay a little bit up front to do some of those sponsored ads, like he was speaking of, that's to do.
Gotcha. So once you get started, then is that's a big hurdle? I mean, because as Barry was talking, like some of this stuff, with all due respect, I'm just like, I don't know what that term means. So I'm a little bit embarrassed to ask about this or that. Some people don't know the difference or the similarity, or that they're the same between Meta and Facebook. So it's kind of hard to, when you're talking about the back end. So once you get started, Brian, you get a lot more comfortable with the website and doing all that.
Absolutely.
Gotcha.
You really want to put the time into it. It really isn't a lot of time, but if you put a little bit of time every day, at least the first couple months, it'll pretty much take care of itself after that. Um, that's pretty much it.
Well, thanks for jumping on, Brian. But before I let you go, just real quick, what's your favorite actuator arm for Farmgate?
Pay,
Patriot?
absolutely.
All right, we're still good friends. So, hey, man, thank you for jumping on, Brian. I definitely appreciate it. And make sure you get Barry's number, because it looks like he might be looking for a fence. And he's got a Sub-Zero refrigerator, which means, he's got a nice house. So, all right, Brian, I'll talk to you later, man. Have a good night.
Nice meeting you.
So yeah, that's another colleague of ours, Brian. He's out in your area. He's out in Terrell. Yeah. Do you find that that's an intimidating process? I mean, it just so happened that Brian played into it a little bit, but I mean, some of the stuff that you're talking about, with all due respect, I mean, it's intimidating for me to say, "What's this?"
I mean, not really. The more you guys get comfortable with it and understand, it's a difference of working with an agency and doing things on your own. The agencies that, and I don't care really what niche you're in. If you're a plumber and you're dealing with, and you need an agency to hold your hand and walk you through the fire of getting verified with Google, getting your ad groups and ad set, your ad campaigns set up in Google. That is daunting, and that is intimidating if you don't know what you're doing. And you can waste a lot of time and money, right? Optimizing these campaigns and setting them up incorrectly. And one little thing, one little default button or check mark that you didn't do might cost you thousands of dollars. And so I think the more you get into it, the more familiar you are with it. The you know the easier it gets. But if you do hire an agency, it's because you want to hire an expert that knows your keywords, that knows the plug and play campaigns that already work for your niche. So it just makes things go so much faster. You get from point A to point B, way faster than just clipping along and stubbing your toe and taking 2 steps back and 1 step forward.
So for our listeners out there and viewers, what's the difference between somebody that builds a website and an agency? I didn't know you were agency. I thought you just. What is an agency, and what's the difference between the two?
So, like a solopreneur or a freelancer, if that's all they do is build websites, then they build turnkey websites. You hire them and say, "Hey, I need a website. Well, what is your niche?" Great. So we build out this website. That's what they would do. there are agencies that do full service, meaning they do website, SEO, PPC, social media, kind of like everything within the world of digital marketing.
Okay.
And so you can hire anybody to. You could go onto Fiverr or Upwork and build a website for $500, and the website's done. You get what you pay for, but you can do it. Maybe that person, that's all they do is build a website. Agencies are really more, to me, about the marketing of it, opposed to um, building the asset. It's fine tuning and optimizing it so it works right. It's kind of like this: if you're in the NASCAR, well, somebody has to build that car, right?
Okay.
The mechanics in the shop are fine tuning that engine so it's precisely perfect, so it runs and hauls ass in the most efficient way. And so agencies who do SEO and are specialized in running campaigns on social media or pay-per-click campaigns, they're setting them up and fine-tuning them, getting them to work better and better and better as time goes by for their client, in this case, gate contractors.
Robert,
Okay.
what are you doing for your website? Are you having somebody build it and maintain it?
Yeah, I got somebody that started it. First, we had a big agency did it for the first few years, and then we wanted to downsize and get the cost down. And my website guy used to work for that company and started his own agency with a partner, and then he built a website for basically half the price that we were paying for the other one, because and it was we were covering too much territory too, because we couldn't keep up with the volume of calls coming in and all that. So
Wow, that's
we
great.
downsized it, and we never put it on Google, but people still can punch in evereselectricgates.com or punch in gate automation, and our website will pop up. Not it won't be the first one maybe, but it pops up and people call us right regular through the website.
And they're maintaining it and all that stuff. How much involvement day to day do you have in the website?
Matter of fact, I got to talk with him this week and update some pictures and stuff, and he's gonna show me how to go online and do the pictures and download stuff. And
Barry, is that kind of like the story that you hear from the fence, gate operator, door, access control world? That I had this guy that did it, and then he did this and changed, and I was getting charged too much, and I didn't see the volume. In Robert's case, it looked like he had plenty of volume, just not geographically covered. And then they finally come to you. Or are you just getting? Do you get people that are just like new, fresh off the boat? I need a website now and get it, or is it a mix?
It's probably a mix, but it's more heavily pointed towards people who are already using an agency and not getting the results. Um, you have to know the campaigns and the keywords for each niche. So, like I said about earlier, let's say you're a dentist, it's probably better to use a marketing agency that knows how to generate leads specifically for dentists.
Mhm.
It's what they do. They know the lingo, they know the campaigns, and they can plug and play and just go. Um, but it's not like inexpensive to use an agency, but it also generates a higher ROI. So if you're in growth mode, right, then that might make more sense. Some people do come to us new and they don't have a website, or they had another company. I have a guy right now who's getting divorced, and
You know he's in the fence business then.
he had to start over again. And so, he's not new as a business owner. He's not new as an operator. He's not new as a new to the game, but he's having to start over again. That happens too.
Okay.
Or people that sell their businesses and then start over again in a different niche. So they're starting from scratch because they liquidated that asset and they're moving on to start a new one. But I would say most of them are guys that are just not getting the results or the communication from whomever is doing their marketing now.
Well, I went on your website earlier and I was checking out some things, and you have several free resources, but you just brought up about knowing the keywords for pay-per-click and SEO, and you have a free top 50 guide for the garage door and gate guys. Tell us a little bit more about that, and what do we have to do to get that?
You can go to the website and download it, or you can just shoot me an email and ask for it, or call me and ask for it, and we'll send it to you. I think we were revising the gate keywords. I'm not even sure if they've been re-uploaded. If they haven't, I can get them on there tomorrow. But I just did a presentation. And in that presentation, we used the updated keywords for gates. So I need to get that back on there. But regardless, just ask for it. We'll shoot it to you. It's a free resource for, like, if you're building a website or you're redoing the content on your website, or you're using pay-per-click, this keyword list can be very helpful. It's a great resource just to help you fine tune the keywords that generate the highest search volume. Typically speaking, I mean, that can change region to region, but for the most part, these are the keywords that get the highest search volume, across the country.
It's not the only free resource that you have. Robert, have you been over to the website in the last few days since we talked to Barry?
I just glanced at it. I didn't really go in depth with it.
Well, one of the other things he has is actually a free checklist for. Is it starting your website? I've got it pulled up right here, and I just read the first couple of paragraphs.
It's the ultimate digital marketing checklist for garage door, gate, fence contractors, and so it kind of just goes through different parts of it. Website is only one part of it.
Gotcha.
So it kind of breaks it up into different sections. It's basically it's a one-page version of this 291-page 16-chapter book. And so this book is like really in depth. The ultimate checklist is just a one-page version of it.
Man, I like that book. Where can I get that book from?
You read my mind.
Send me an email and I'll mail you a copy.
Oh
for
man,
free,
I want an
but
autograph too.
Yeah, it's on Amazon.
Oh, there you go. So yeah, I would love to check it out, make notes, and get back to you on it. So one of the things that you were kind enough to do was to offer $250 off your first month of service with your agency, and I thought that was actually very kind of you guys to do. But at the very least, you can schedule a 30-minute session with you. It's pretty easy to do on your website. I put your phone number and your email address up here, but it's just as easy to go on the website because it has your calendary, however you say that. Say it for me. Calendly. So I'll put that link after the show. I'll put that link in the bottom. But at the end of the day, you can call him or email him if you're interested in setting that up. And it sounds like it's worth it. And you offer an evaluation of their website. Is that correct?
Yeah. This is like a competition report. So we can audit your SEO and your Google business profile. So like audit the website and the Google business profile, your Google page and the website, and compare it to like your top 10 contractors in your area. Now, if you're in like downtown Chicago, Illinois, it's going to be a different type of level of competition than if you're in, say, Waco, Texas.
Yeah.
It's night and day.
Yeah.
The more population in the area, the more competition you have, the more dog it is online.
Mm-hmm.
That that seems to be where it's more head to head
Yeah,
with some of the companies, right?
yeah, because I hear
But
people talk about that all the time on Facebook. They'd be like, "Well, I got this going on my website, and I'm not getting leads." And they're in most of them are in a big popular area where there's a lot of people searching stuff all the time on the internet. So how, that's a tough competition thing to deal with.
mhm. Yeah, so let's what well, the way we look at it is let's break that down. Let's take a look at who your competition is. Who's gobbling up or getting most of the organic lead flow from Google Maps and from the organic search results for the main keywords that people search in your service area, right? So if you're in Sacramento and you're a gate contractor, gate installations, gate repairs, gate maintenance, gate service, uh, gate openers. Those main keywords like niche plus city. So gate service in Sacramento. Who pops up for that? Who's getting those leads, those free leads through Maps, um, and why? And so if we kind of take a look at it and put it into a spreadsheet and look at the different reasons why people rank ahead of you, it's kind of like going to the bar and shooting pool or throwing darts and taking your blindfold off. If you were blindfolded, you can't see what you're doing. You don't know where to throw that dart. You don't know if you need to move left or the right. And you take off the blindfold, and it's like, wow, that makes sense. Now I see. So if you can see while your competition is kicking your ass, that's what we want to unfold. Our job, if we decided, if you guys decided, or if a contractor or a company said, yes, Barry, we want to hire your team, then it would be our job to execute that plan because organic is more of a foot race.
Mm-hmm.
So, but if you don't know what to do, you don't have the time or the manpower, that's when you use an agency. So that competition organic audit is very helpful. Even if we don't decide to work together, or if it's not the right time for you, it's perfectly fine. You still got the information, and it's good, honestly, good, valuable information. It takes us a couple of hours to do each report.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
that's
that's
nice
cool.
to you start that conversation with them. I think Robert and I are the same way. I mean, you get what you pay for. If you want an expert gate tech, then you've got to have expert service. And yeah, it kind of, from my perspective, it kind of stinks to put all this effort into all this organic stuff you're doing, because Robert and I are doing it every day. We're putting out posts, promoting the show, promoting our businesses, and put all that effort into it, and not get the traction as paying for eyeballs. And then ultimately, in my opinion, that's what you're doing. You're paying for people to look at your stuff. But if you want to go from 0 to 100, sometimes that's just what you do. Not everybody's successful in the organic game. As a matter of fact, it's fair to say that a small percentage, a single digit percentage of people are experts in the organic game. It just doesn't happen. So, well, look, Barry, we appreciate it. We've got your phone number and your email address up there. Is there's anything else you want to say to send us off? We're going to talk about gate operators after this, so I'm sure that'll bore you to death. Um, but we appreciate you coming on.
Oh, it's my pleasure. It's been a joy. You guys are
Thank you.
great. I love what you're doing.
Well, cool. We'll keep it up, and we'll also keep in touch. And if anything pops up, please let us know. Because, like I said, I'm intimidated by this stuff. I mean, sometimes it's
I
just I
am
just
too.
don't know. I mean, it's ever evolving. And in some of these sales classes that I've talked to these guys, it's just like you have to use the current language that the customer understands. When you say gate operator, they don't know what operator means. I'm the operator. Well, it's actually a gate opener. It's the device that actually opens the gate. So the language that you're using is the language that we have to keep current with, and it is scary because for you it's changing minute by minute. For us, it's changing year by year. So yeah, it's got to be pretty intimidating. So there you go. You could call Barry or email him, and you can get rid of that intimidation factor now that you've seen him on here. So we appreciate it. We'll see you at the next show, Barry. Thank you.
Sounds good. Thanks so much.
Yeah,
You're
man.
welcome.
Thank you.
Bye. Well, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah. That freaking man, I love that marketing stuff, but man, I
Yeah.
get sometimes it's a little much, man, because I don't know all these freaking terms and all that stuff. I think he was trying to keep it on a simplistic level, but there was
Yeah.
some stuff on the back end that I don't understand.
Yeah. But
So
like I said, go check door and gate domination out. Go check
yeah,
them out. You might want
there's
to
his
use them.
yeah, there's his uh, phone number and email address. Um, I just got a text from somebody we might want to talk to. So, anyways, what service calls did you have? What do you got going on since the weather's bad? You said that you were
Well,
going and breaking up the ice. Is that V track? Is it cantilever?
a
What?
cantilever gate. Um,
Okay.
it was at a mini storage. I got one mini storage and it had two gates on it, an entrance and an exit. And they had a customer call said the gate's acting up. It's not closing all the way or whatever. And I already knew that it was going to be ice. And so I went out there and the exit gate was halfway open, so it didn't even close back all the way, or open up all the way, or close whichever one. And I went and knocked the ice off of it, and put it hit open the gate, opened right up, opened and closed it a few times, and it worked fine. And I didn't really have to do anything to the exit gate because the ice kind of melted off there,
Uh-huh.
and I knocked a few little chunks of ice off, but they're both working, but they might freeze back up tonight. But see, we had rain last night and it froze overnight. So
Well, I remember those days in Texas, but I haven't seen any of those days here
yeah.
in Nevada. Um, but anyways, have you anybody out there that does chain driven gates? Have they ever? What's y'all guys' opinion? I've been told that the silicone based sprays that we're using on chains actually helps coat it and makes water bead off of it. Robert, have you ever heard that?
Well, it helps, but it's not going to stop it from freezing water when it gets around it. But it seems like it helps. I have tried de-icer stuff in this can.
Yeah.
You ever tried that? I've and
No.
I've had I put some of that on there, but if it's raining hard or something like that, there ain't nothing you could really do about it. It's gonna freeze up. And you know, that's what and sometimes it was I had a third one to go to in another town for the same company, and there that was a Liftmaster 585, and
Oh, yeah.
and
My
and then
favorite.
the other two were automatic 100s. So
Let
don't
me
matter
guess.
what operator it is.
Let me guess. You spent on that 585. You spent 10 minutes doing a service call and 2 hours putting the cover back on. Man, those 585s
I hate
suck,
them.
man.
Well, soon as I looked at it, I said, I can't wait till I get to do one of them new ones one
Yeah, and
day.
is it is maybe Pat might know is the 585 is it discontinued? If anybody's got a
Yeah,
opinion
they're
or
discontinued.
oh, okay.
Supposedly you can't get
Yeah.
them no more. That's what my distributor has told me.
Yeah, and I'm just as happy with that. I never really did see a use for them in the sense that it had a 50 chain. The way that the whole design was interesting, and yeah,
It's
Pat just said yes that it is discontinued. And if anybody would know, it's Pat.
oh
Uh,
yeah, I pay attention.
there you go. But it had the 50 chain, which I always thought was excessive. In
Yeah,
my opinion, the 40 chain is just fine for 99% of the applications. It's rare,
yeah,
very rare that a 40 chain on a gate operator that's just basically serviced every once in a while and used, at least a couple of times a day,
hmm
that a 40 chain will just would just break.
yeah,
But yeah, so anyways, I've always wondered that about chain, because I don't deal with didn't deal with too many cantilever gates out in Texas, and it was generally just that for whatever reason water would collect on that chain, and
Yeah.
it would be to a spot where the gear actually wouldn't break it. So yeah, but that's
But on these, it was froze around the gate frame, so it got stuck in the rollers. Really, is what jammed it up and caused the obstruction light to come on. And then on the LiftMaster one, it was the photo eye. The reflector was frozen on. It had a shield of ice on it, so I had to knock the ice off the reflector
Oh,
on
what
the
did it
photo
not have
eye.
a hood on it?
Nope, don't have a hood.
Did you do you put hoods by default on the reflectors,
Yeah, I put hoods
or
on. Yeah,
or you just use whatever comes in the box?
I use whatever comes in the box. That their type of hoods, whatever manufacturer have.
Pat, if you're gonna make all these comments, man, you're gonna have to click on the link and get on with us, because
Come
it
on,
sounds like
Pat.
it sounds like you know more about this stuff
He
than we
knows a
do.
lot. I pay attention to Pat.
Oh yeah, Pat. What part of man? Jump on. There's a link in the comments. Jump on here and talk to us. But what part of the world are you in, Pat? If let us know what where you're at. I don't know where he's at. Um, do you have any, know where Pat's at?
I don't know. I
Oh,
talked to so
gotcha.
many people over the last couple of years on Facebook. I met a lot of people from all over. I don't know if it was Arizona or not. I don't know. I might be wrong.
All right, he'll tell us. Brian, thank you for jumping on earlier. He said, "I'm curious if oiling the chain right before ice comes helps any." Brian, when you say oiling the chain, do you mean like using like a motor oil? Motor,
Wizard of
God,
Oz.
dude, I went country on you real quick. Motor oil. Are you talking about
M-
motor oil, or are you talking
Motorola?
about just? Yeah, you talking about chain
Murder.
lubricant? He says that'll keep it from freezing up. Oh, St. Louis, Missouri. What's the weather like?
Missouri.
Missouri, is that Missouri? So that's above Oklahoma. Anyways, I ain't gonna look it up. I'm from Texas. There ain't no other state other than Texas as far as I'm concerned. So, um, well, did your dad get out there and get in it?
No.
No.
He don't do nothing no more. He's in the office.
That's probably what he says about you.
Oh well, yeah, I know. Yeah. I don't never do nothing.
You don't?
Yeah, I don't do nothing. I just lay around every day and listen for gate calls.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I do too. I wait for the phone to ring to see if anybody needs tech support. Somebody reached out on one of the forums today about tech support, and uh, he never did answer what kind of gate operator was, from what I saw.
Mm.
Did you see that post?
No, I didn't see that one.
Well, um, the guest that I have been waiting on has now appeared, and
Okay.
this is oh no, it's Pat. Oh, I didn't want Pat on
Hey,
there. I
Pat.
was I was
What's
waiting
going
on
on, guys?
I was waiting on somebody else. What's up, Pat?
How we doing?
We're
Man,
doing good.
it was 50 degrees here today. That's how I was doing.
It
And you
was
suck.
it was -2 here today.
You're
Woo.
kidding me.
-2 for
What states surround Missouri? I noticed in the geographic.
Illinois. You got Illinois right next. That's where I actually live over here in Illinois or Illinois. Uh, so I'm right outside St. Louis, but our service area is the St. Louis area.
Okay.
So
Awesome.
we primarily put in a lot of LiftMaster. I know you do a lot of automatic, but we don't do a whole lot of that.
Oh yeah.
Uh,
Oh,
we do a lot of high security, linear Osco, Dorking.
yeah.
Yeah, that the linear Osco seems to be pretty popular up there.
I tell you what, LiftMaster's pretty popular here too.
They're popular
Oh, is it?
everywhere.
What lift masters are you are you using?
So we don't use the RSL anymore. I've had a lot of issues with the RSL. A CSL we use a lot of.
Yeah.
Uh, we slowly kind of get into that industrial slide a lot more now. Uh, so like we take care of the St. Louis Zoo area. So all the stuff down at the zoo, they got I don't know 10 gates down there.
Yeah, that's a
Uh,
good one.
yeah, St. Louis University, they got a lot of barrier gates, LiftMaster barrier gates down there.
Hmm.
So
Mega Tower.
yep, yep.
Yeah, those are one of the best gates they make.
I tell you what, they're coming out with a new LiftMaster's coming out with a new barrier gate operator. I was talking to Control
Yeah,
Products today about it, and I told him, man, you can't beat that Mega Tower.
yeah.
That's I mean what's the point of doing another arm? I mean
Yeah.
it just that mega tower it just works,
Yep,
you know?
yep. Yeah, we
Yeah.
put in about 6 of them 2 weeks ago for a big contractor here in St. Louis, and I had a little bit of an issue with the Mega Tower. The belt was slipping on all of them, so
You
we
gotta
we
be
were
careful with that.
yeah we
You gotta
replaced
have
the
it
belt.
just right.
Yeah, yeah, we put new belts on all 6 of them, and they took off just fine.
Yeah.
What's the deal with the belts? Were they not the right size or was
I
the gear reducer
I
not
just
in the
think
right
it was
spot?
yeah something out of the factory just was the wrong size.
Yeah.
Huh.
So yeah, we put in a lot of. I don't do a whole lot of 400s. I do a lot of 500 LA 500.
Yeah.
Uh, I don't I
So
don't I don't care for the slop that 400 has.
Yeah.
So
So that's an ongoing debate, and it really at the end of the day, it's to each his own. So
yep.
I've given the LA 500 kind of a hard time, just because we do a lot of board on board wood gates, and it's
Hmm.
cost me quite a bit of money, enough to where I can't make any money off of them. So I stopped installing them, because that plastic gear, as soon as anybody pulled on it or the wind got it, it would not work anymore. And then they sell this repair kit. I
Yep.
don't know. Have you repaired one of LA 500?
I've pulled some LA 500s apart. Extended the tail cable. I pulled it
Okay.
apart to extend that. I don't like the junction stuff as much as we don't have to. I mean, you guys explained weather. Weather up here is. I mean, we have all kind of weather. So stuff freezes, stuff
Hmm.
corrodes, stuff. It gets ruined up here.
Yeah.
And you don't
Yeah.
have any problem with the LA 500 in that environment?
I don't. I personally
That's
don't.
good.
Yeah, I mean, uh, like I said, I've been an installer for 13 years, 14 years now. I worked at big companies, and I left and started my own company a year and a half, almost 2 years ago.
Hmm.
Uh,
How's that
I'm
working out for you?
I got 2 other technicians already. We got 4 trucks here at the
Oh
shop. So,
man,
yeah, we're booming.
Let's go, baby.
Oh yeah.
Uh,
that's good.
did man, that's congratulations for all the hard work, man, because it's not easy to do that. Did you were you lucky in that market that you were there at the right time in the right place, or do you got a lot of competition out there?
Oh, we got a lot of competition here.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing: we don't do any fence work. Uh, we don't do any. We don't touch any
That's right.
gates.
This is
We
smart.
I tell you what, man, I came from there. I watched a lot of your guys' podcasts already, and we wrap our own loops still. We don't buy the saw cut loops. We carry
Yeah.
rolls of
Oh
wire,
man, come on,
cases of
That's what I'm
man.
talking
chalk in the
about.
truck,
That
and
is what I'm
He's a
talking about.
Brooks fan.
yeah,
Yeah, baby.
yeah.
That's what
Well,
I'm
I mean,
talking about.
here's the thing, man. I that's how I was trained, man. Back in the
Yeah.
day, you wrap loops. You don't.
Hmm.
Here's the thing. I can build it to any custom size. I can, we're going
Yeah.
out there. I mean, you got to roll wire and a saw in the truck. I can do it that day. You have
Yeah.
to go back and figure out a loop, and it's just I don't know.
That
I can do 3 loops out of one roll of wire. I mean,
Hmm.
You, that's Robert and I've talked about it before, and that's kind of what my position is as well too. Because the salespeople are stupid, so they tell you
yep,
it's a 4x4, and the next thing you go out there and it's a 6x8.
yep,
But I will tell you that there is a lot more flexibility in preformed loops now that I've taken Brian's class like 3 times and actually installed them. You have to go through that class and install it to understand the flexibility that's in there. Because if I remember correctly, you have about 2 feet that you
well,
can go
and,
with.
and I actually had questions on loops and I wanted to see what you guys thought.
Yeah.
Uh, So I mean, here's the thing: we use BEA loop detectors here. The
Okay.
BEA Matrix. I don't know if you guys either both used one of those.
No,
I don't
sir.
use them.
So the thing is I mean that's like my most forgiving loop detector I've ever used.
Okay.
My question for you would be the LiftMaster. They use perimeter, so they use length times width to figure out how many turns a loop gets.
Hmm.
Okay.
Right? If you look up
Yeah.
a manual on a LiftMaster loop detector, that's what it tells you. If you look at a BEA, I'm sorry, they use length plus width plus length plus width. The BEA uses the area, so length times width. And
Hmm.
if you look at them both and you actually add them up, just say like a 4x5, which would be 4 foot plus 5 foot plus 4 foot plus 5 foot, and it tells you how many turns. The
Yeah.
turns are different between the two loops. And
Hmm.
at the same, four times five is different than 4 plus 5 plus 4 plus 5. And
Hmm.
the thing is, it's different. We've had issues with a loop detector where we'd go out saw cut for a BEA, put in a LiftMaster and it wouldn't work, but you put in the BEA and it would.
That's probably because of the sensitivities on it. My rule is wrap it 3 times at least.
Well, yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, here's the thing. We don't ever get into a two-turn loop. I mean, if you do
Yeah.
that, just add another loop in and be done.
Hmm.
Saw cut
Yeah.
right next to
Well.
it.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't know what you guys thought and how you guys usually did that.
Well, it's basically, in essence, it's there's really the only thing that I wish Brian Dixon was on here. Maybe we can have him back on here. But really, ultimately, at the end of the day, what you're doing is you're trying to tune that coil
Yep.
within the parameters of the loop. So basic a loop
Hmm.
detector rather. So the
Yeah.
loop detector is most loop detectors. My go-to loop detector is the EMX MVP, and I'll do a little sales pitch after this about that because I think a lot of people should carry this one on their truck. But my go-to one is that, and it actually has a frequency counter on there. So
Is
it'll
that the
tell
one that
you.
does the three loops that you were talking about the other day?
No, the one that had like the whole loop rack built in
Yeah.
had three loop
That's
detectors
North
built on.
Star.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's right. That's the North Star. I think that one's pretty cool, and I could definitely see the advantage of if you have some crazy stuff going on with your loops, put that whole thing in there. That gets
Yep.
rid of the loop rack, the loop detectors, and all you're doing is just plugging that in.
So up here in St. Louis, we have control products. I mean, I bought
Hmm.
from SAS a lot, uh, and they're out of Kansas City for us, and it's just as easy for me to go here local to control products.
Oh yeah.
But
Yeah.
but I was talking to them about it. I was talking with SAS the other day about it. I was like, man, you got to watch this podcast I watch on Facebook. And I talked about that loop detector, and then they didn't know what I was talking about. And then I talked to control
No.
Yeah.
products today about it, and they're like, we don't know what you're talking about. I was like, I know I'm not misinformed on this. So
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a North Star loop rack and detectors all built in. And if you don't know, if you don't not aware of this, North Star is who builds All-O-Matic's loop rack and loop detectors.
okay.
And so far, I don't know about you, Robert. How do you like those loop detectors and loop rack that All-O-Matic has?
I haven't had any issues with the new one so far. So far so great.
So what do you think of
Zero
like
problems.
All-O-Matic slide gate?
What's that?
What do you think of the slide gate for All-O-Matic?
I love them.
Do you?
Yeah, because they got the kick pedal still for kicking it out of gear and easy to move the gate back and forth. And they're my neat. I like the way they operate, and I don't have a lot of problems out of them.
Um, uh, I'll answer that question in one second. I just want to get back to the loops.
Uh huh.
So basically, you're trying to tune that coil within a range of what the loop detector will see. And
Mm-hmm.
that's 20 microhenries up to 2,000 microhenries, which
Mm-hmm.
is the measurement unit for inductance.
Okay.
So you basically where there's three wraps, you could probably put two or you could put seven, and it would
Hmm.
probably still be within tune, right? So
Okay.
that's all you're trying to do, and for the most part, 3 is what I do all the time. And I've done 2 and I've done 1 and I've had no problems with it.
Yeah,
You've done
and
one
and
loop,
the,
one turn?
Yeah, yeah.
Really?
I had 80-foot wide drive. This is perfect example why preform loops um, have a you can't just trust what the salesperson says. And I had to go do an 80-foot wide drive and just did 1 turn. Now the question is how do you determine that whether it's in tune or not? So I believe the LiftMaster plug-in loop detector has it, and majority of them do. But the EMX has a frequency counter, and it'll tell you whether you're in tune or not. We just lost you, Pat. So we'll answer those questions offline. So the most loop detectors will have a frequency counter on there, and it'll tell you whether it sees it, whether it's in tune. Like the EMX, it'll actually you hit that counter, and you're trying to get in between 3 flashes and 7 flashes or 13 flashes, and that means that it's in between 30 kilohertz and 130 kilohertz, right? So it's relatively simple, but I like it also because it's multi-voltage, so I can use it for 12 volt or 240 volt. But that loop detector I really like as well because it'll isolate it. You just put that on a harness if you're having loop detector, loop rack, loop, or wiring issues, that'll isolate everything but the loop. So, and then as far as slide gates, automatic SL100 all day, every day, even on Sunday. So, hey man, I've been telling you there's one guy I want to get on the podcast. And this is not a podcast. I keep saying podcast, but it's a show. This is a show. It's the only show. It's a show, man. Anything with us is a spectacle. Yeah, baby. You gotta like those cheap sound effects, right?
yeah,
Well,
man.
anyways, there's a lot of debate and talk about codes and rules and laws, and I wish we had more people like this in the industry that could open up and tell us the things that we need to be concerned about, and tell us the things that are stuff that needs to be clarified that not very many people are out there clarifying for us. So we have the one, the only Ken Martin Jr. here. Ken, thank you on short notice for jumping on. I really appreciate it. I would like to have a set of questions for you. And then have maybe 30, 45 minutes with you, but I won't take too much of your time. So tell us just quickly about who you are, who you work for, what your background is, and maybe some of your family's background too, and then we'll bounce some UL and ASTM questions off of you if you don't mind.
Sounds good. You hear me okay?
Yeah, I'll turn up your volume just a little bit on my end, but yeah, you're loud and clear.
Perfect. My background, I come from the door side of the industry. My family, I grew up we manufactured garage doors up in Salt Lake. That was my grandfather's company, and most of the family worked there, and a lot of other people too. But it came with gates as well. Seemed like everywhere I go, well, could you install my gate operator? Okay, and so it developed into both doors and gates. Lately, out here in Nevada, I don't do as much just because not a lot of people have gates that are compliant and aren't willing to pay to bring them up. And so out here in Nevada has been a little bit more, but I do go down to Texas and Florida and whatnot. They're a little bit more common. Uh, but I grew up about 25% of my work was in gate operators, 75 in door operators. My father and grandfather, uh, I grew up in the factory with them. They insisted we learn the rules. Everything was liability, compliance, doing things correctly. And they participated in the different standards development committees. And so once I got so far into my career that where I understood things well enough, I also joined and helped vote on different standards. I help with the ASTM F2200 standard, as well as UL 325. That doesn't mean I'm an expert. Anybody can join these groups as long as you have a good reason to join and you know enough about it. They will let you join. So it doesn't mean that I know everything on it. I still learn things every day, and these standards are constantly changing. Every time we vote to change something, eventually those changes roll out.
Are you on the UL and ASTM board? Or
Yeah, the
just
technical committees. Yes, I
okay?
like to do both because I don't represent manufacturers or dealers. I represent technicians and customers, people who deal physically with these products as they're being applied, or after the fact, or repairing them and whatnot. And so I don't typically look at the reasons for voting to maintain profits. I typically just vote for safety and things like that. So my perspective is different than a lot of people on these in these groups.
And would you say that as an installer, which Robert and I both are, would you say that our primary concern is with ASTM, provided that the gate operator meets the UL standard of whatever that municipality calls for? So if that municipality says it has to be made after 2018 and it has to be approved by UL, is it fair to say that our concerns should be with the manufacturer's manual and the ASTM interpretation that they have in the manual?
Yeah, that's exactly correct. The ASTM standard is a manufacturer standard, and while it's good to be familiar with it, it can be dangerous too because the listing data when the manufacturer
Hey,
takes
Ken,
yes.
can I stop you for a second? Just to make clear, you had said, maybe I misheard it. You said that ASTM is a manufacturing standard.
Sorry, no, you're right.
Okay.
Sorry, you're right. UL 325 is a manufacturer standard.
Okay. There's going to be
ASTM
a test.
designing them, but
There's going to be a test later, Robert. So I just wanted to make sure that you got it.
no,
Okay.
you're right. Thank you for correcting me on that. I'm
So-
glad you're listening.
Oh, well, it's with all due respect, it's probably one of the things that I get the most flack on because I teach how to install gate operators, but part of my teaching is at the beginning telling these young men and young women that I am not going to kid myself and tell you that I know what 20,000 municipalities, what 4,500 counties, what 2,500 special districts have adopted code wise and then modified at any given point in time. So I think I did the math one time. It would mean that I would have to pay attention to 178 different cities every single day just to be able to get caught up once a year. And I understand that a lot of these cities, not blindly, but they adopt the whole code, whatever it says, without modification. But I just don't want to intimidate somebody past the fact, like, look, just call your local authority having jurisdiction and ask them what the practices are. So you were talking about ASTM and UL.
Sure. And on that point, even if it's not in the code that they have to, that the operator requires a UL listing, I still do it just because as a professional, I know it's a safer standard than not having a listing. And so I go with it either way. But the most important part of the UL 325 standard is that the operator be marked appropriate for the application. So if it's a residential operator, it's marked appropriately, or commercial. But once we've verified the marking, then the manufacturer's instruction teaches us how to apply it to meet the listing, to meet all the requirements of the listing. They make the manual based on how the listing says that the product was tested and the way that things were passed. Uh, to go into the UL 325 standard and say, oh, I can use this and this and this option, it can burn some guys because really you need to see if the operator is designed for the sensor options you want to select, or whatever the scenario is, flashers, alarms, or anything you think is necessary. Uh, but the to following the building code typically goes to verifying that it's a listed product and then following the manufacturer's instructions, and that's where most ICC models are going nowadays.
Yeah.
Well, it seems like it's really complicated, and it's got to be intimidating. I know it is for a lot of the fence guys that are out there that are thinking about adding this to their product line. Um,
Well,
what are some?
each model of operator is tested individually with the components that are approved to be used with that operator. If components not tested with an operator, then it isn't part of the listing yet. And those listings are private. Those are private that the manufacturer has because it tells a lot more about the product than they want us to know. And so the only way we can get that information is the instructions manual.
Yeah.
Does it hurt innovation to have those types of closed off tests? Like, oh, this manufacturer decides that I only want to test product X, and with my product, does that stifle innovation, or have you seen any time where it's kind of non-productive to go through that whole process and then only test one device with it?
You know, some manufacturers select the one device because I'm sure they have stock in that device. It
Oh,
benefits
okay.
them, and they want you to use their products. There are some great manufacturers out there that have really gone broad, and in their manual they'll tell you the electrical specs, or if it's not in the manual, they'll have special technical trainings or technical manuals available, and those are also considered instructions.
Hmm.
Gotcha. Robert, what's your experience with ASTM and UL? I mean, have you ever sat down and read? Well, you
Yeah.
know what? I'm not gonna ask that question because I don't
Yeah.
want it.
No. 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 No.
I
I
don't
have
want.
read
I don't.
that. I've read the UL 325 and the other one you said I don't have memorized, but
ASTM at
yeah,
2200. Well, you're probably one
yeah,
of the
I've
few
read them,
if you've read
and
UL back
basically
and
you got
front.
5 classes, you know,
Yeah.
and so residential probably in the first two, then
Yeah.
you got uh,
Commercial.
commercial 2, 3, and 4 and 5. You know, it could be either one of those, and then you got the like you said, the manufacturer has it in there and how the drawings of how the loops are laid out and where the photo eyes go, where the keypads go, and all that good stuff. And but only thing you need is 1 or 2 devices, safety devices to operate the gate
Is that
from the
true?
manufacturer.
Was that
As
true,
long
Ken?
as, as long as that's what the manufacturer says, yes.
Gotcha. So at the end of the day, the manufacturer, what they've tested and what they put in their manual is what we're ultimately going by.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So what's your day to day involvement with these organizations? And although we've talked about it before, I'm not going to pretend that I'm surprising you about this, but I was told by somebody who sits on the UL board that anybody can change UL. And it is fair to say that as a blanket statement is not true. However, there is a process for people to have their voice heard. And I think I might have said UL, but I meant ASTM. I was told. I was told by somebody from AST, a representative who sits on the board of ASTM, said that anybody can change ASTM. But as a blanket statement, that's not necessarily the case. However, you can join UL. Can anybody join? Or again, I'm sorry, I got it confused. ASTM. Can anybody join? And then once you join, do you have just as much power as anybody that's sitting on there? And then if not, how do you get that power so you can be influential in it?
Well,
Not that I'm wanting to break the system. I'm just
the
curious.
statement's it's almost correct. If he would have said that anyone can propose change, then it would have been
Mhm.
correct. Because
Okay.
it doesn't mean that it's going to vote to change at all.
Yeah.
There's a lot of proposals that don't pass.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so what happens is if someone wants to get involved, go to the ASTM or UL or whichever standard development site you want to go on and Google the name and then technical committees, and it'll bring you up to their standard development site where you can go in and sign up. And there is an administrative fee typically, but then from there you can join as many committees within that organization
Mm-hmm.
as either positions are available and you qualify for, or whatever it may be. You go into the requirements, and they have a balance of so many members of each type, and they have to maintain a certain percentage. So some groups are full, but there are many that are looking for members.
What's the
Well, the whole point of this podcast, me and Mike always talked about it, was like we wanted to bring this kind of together where it could be communicated through, because you wouldn't know nothing about it if it weren't for podcast and YouTube videos, and other guys have talked about it over the past 3 or 4 years. But as a gate contractor from the old school, you ain't heard nothing about UL 325, none of that stuff. We just went out and installed gate operators, and we read the manual, but we didn't pay attention to none of that stuff.
hell? Half of us can barely read. I'm speaking on this side of the screen, or on this side of the screen over here.
I just
But yeah,
can't see to read.
well, I don't mean to make light of it, because I've said this several times. I've yet to meet the gate technician that says, I want to install a gate to hurt somebody. So most of these men and women in general have good hearts, and they're in the right place, but they just don't know where to put that effort. And speaking from my perspective, it's unfortunately, I have not found anywhere to put that after reaching out to trade associations and reaching out to some of these consumer advocacy groups. They won't come on and tell us in an unfiltered capacity what's going on. And that's it's not like a concern like I'm up at night, because I'm trying to do the best that I can as a business owner, but it just seems like, where do we put this energy? And I know, Ken, you're not an advocate for the whole thing, but if you have any suggestion on where we should be focusing, and maybe we should not be focused on any of it, we should just be focused on reading the manual and doing what the manual says.
I was talking to Brian about this the other day, and we're going to meet up here together. And we've been talking about putting together a group of technicians who could help each other and meet and discuss these things, and kind of help each other understand what it is in the standard, and discuss things that they want to change. And so there are several groups in the works to help with that. So
Yeah, and I think that it's a pretty good standard, UL 325. I personally don't see what's wrong with it now, as far as all the safety devices and stuff. Um, I think the more concern that we have about it is the law side of it, the criminality of the installer, because I want to support the installer that's doing what they're supposed to be doing, and the ones that don't do what they're supposed to be doing, fly by nighters, or you can go on the internet and buy your own gate operator and put it on yourself, and you don't know nothing about the rules. That's why the manufacturers has got to make sure they have the rules in their book that cover their part of it. Because if not, they're going to get sued by a customer that orders to operate off the internet instead of by a professional.
Do we see any of that going on? And again, Ken, thank you for coming on. And if any of these questions are inappropriate or unethical, please let me know. But I don't. I'm a layperson, and I've been doing this for 20 years. And with all due respect, it fucking pisses me off. I'm tired of this whole these guys are having this meeting here and these guys are having this meeting here and they're saying one thing in public. They're interpreting all these rules, but I'm afraid when I go to court, I can't go off an interpretation. I'm SOL. And that's what scares just the crap out of me. So I don't mean to ask you these questions in an unethical way, but I mean, are we seeing any activity out there to where we're getting the liability pushed on the installers? Because every class that I'm going to that's by a manufacturer or distributor, they're all going, you are 100% responsible if you touch that gate operator. Not if you're changing the batteries and somebody else installed it. It's from the second that anchor hit the ground to the second that an accident happened. You, Mr. Installer, are 100% responsible. Is that the vibe that everybody else is getting? Do you see them trying to lower their risk, or what do you see?
Well, what you're talking about is referred to as the industry standard of care, that as professionals, we're the only person on site who can make any changes, who can warn the customer, who can protect potential users from the product. If it's on a street facing and there's a big sidewalk there, they're going to get pedestrians and homeless, and it's going to be subject to, manual of uniform traffic control device codes and whatnot. You're going to have certain signs. It really is good to go out and learn. The more you learn, the better off you are. It's guidelines. The industry really does strive hard to set good guidelines, but just keep in mind those guidelines help you understand the rules, but it may not be the exact rule.
Yeah.
Gotcha. But
I understand that, and that's what helps out installers too, is knowing the rules and knowing what to lead your customer to. And but like you said, coming on here about Nevada, and Michael's been talking about this since he's been living there. And I live in a rural area where, and also in Tennessee, they don't want to put loops in. They don't want to put if certain things in a SOS or Knox box, and you have to deal with that. And you can't just say, and a lot of them guys in them classes says don't do the job. Well, I don't believe that, because if you don't do the job, you won't have no work. And I don't know. It's like if the customer doesn't want to pay for it or whatever, you know, where do you draw the line on the responsibility? Does it go to the customer too, and the technician, or the professional?
If you, as a professional, make every suggestion that's in the instructions manual, say, look, this is what the requirements are, you have to hit at least the safety requirements.
Yeah.
They may not like the sensors, but you have to have at least the minimum. And then after that, document the conversation.
Yeah.
Document that you talked about this, you warned them about this, they said no, 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 and they only let you do the minimum safety requirements. And that's because that's what our standards are. Standards are the minimum safety requirement.
Well, I appreciate that, and that's a good answer. Document everything you do, and you mention it to the customer and all that. You done your due diligence, and that's what needs to be said a little bit more, I think, too. It's like, document everything, let the customer know, because I'll bring it up 4 or 5 times, especially on a loop. I'm like, you need this safety loop on the outside the gate. Are you going to be calling me back?
Yeah,
I don't want it. I don't want it.
Yeah, You're exactly right. I've taken a minute before, even with certain difficult customers, and I've highlighted the warnings with a highlighter in the user manual before I handed it to them and said, make sure you read this, make sure you follow these instructions, and make sure you maintain the operator according to this manual, because that's also a part of our maintenance.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point.
The property maintenance code, whichever version, the existing building code, sometimes they call it, but most areas have one.
I've been telling people this for a long time, that there's no reason why there has to be this dynamic between, I don't want to put this photo eye on because I'm going to have to come back and clean it, or I'm going to have to come back and maintenance it, and it's going to be a pain in the butt. I've got to tell my customer that now they need to put this photo eye on it. The way that I look at it is, you now have given me an opportunity to sell a $600 item. And I'm not trying to say that money is about safety. I'm going to tell you that you got to do it anyway. But this safety does not have to be something that costs you money or costs the customer money to where it doesn't equal the benefit that they get. And that's just all there is to it. So I hate to make it all about dollars and cents, but when you're in a courtroom, it is about dollars and cents. It's not about, I get to go out in the parking lot and beat this guy up. This is about taking money out of somebody's pocket. But getting past that, it just, even in this conversation, it just seems like this crap is such a negative thing to talk about. Do you find that in these meetings that you're going to, Ken, that it is doom and gloom? Or is it just me? Am I just a negative person?
No, you remind me of a lot of guys in the industry, and I think it's really felt everywhere, across the board, that there's a lot of frustration out there. There's a lot of resentment of certain things, and a lot of people have feelings about being blindsided about things that they weren't very familiar with before, that they're being held to. And in the meetings, the UL doesn't have the same format as ASTM. ASTM meetings can be very interesting. I have seen all sorts of ranges of emotion come out of those meetings, where UL is more of a written format. But in the other industry associations, while they don't bring it up all the time, because they want to. We all want to get through the meetings. It's almost a respect thing that you just don't drop the bomb in the meeting.
Yeah.
So we know there's problems, and everybody knows that they're being worked on, and you can only go so fast when it comes to standards. So they're changing. There's more and more changes coming out.
Yeah. Well, I think overall, they're doing a good job for setting the guidelines. I think so. I don't have a problem with that at all.
It's better.
Yeah.
It really is.
Well, I definitely don't want to be negative, Nancy. My when I look at it from an innovation standpoint, and somebody bringing a product to market, I think that there should be more details out there, and let everybody make up their mind on whether it's good or bad as far as the processes go. If we could create some kind of environment to where you don't have to pay for the standards, where people can have an equal voice based on experience and based on what they have in the game. But I didn't know this until just recently, that some of these. So first of all, Robert, if when they went from 2016 to 2018 UL, everybody that had got all of their gate operators approved in 2016 now had to spend. I'm gonna guess, just based on what one person told me, tens of thousands of dollars, and possibly even $100,000 or more, to actually now get their gate operator reapproved. But it has also been told to me, and maybe Ken can, not the dollar amounts, but can confirm whether it's expensive or not. But they also have to routinely pay. It's not just a one and done. If you change your address, if you make a firmware version change, if you do X or that because of a bug or because you found a better feature or because it changes this, which affects something that these organizations are looking at, they now have to re-go through that process, and they continually change an address, they have to pay and all that stuff. So that's the frustration part with me, is that it seems like there's an opportunity for people to have a monopoly and corner the market, not based on a better product, but just based on more money.
Well, when it comes to, I've seen where you're frustrated there. UL Solutions has done incredible things on stopping those types of things, and Steve Cusick is one that I know from UL Solutions, who is constantly around, being involved, and really has made great strides in the industry. And I usually get an hour or two of his time each year. That's about as much as he can spare. He's such a busy guy, but these they're making a lot of changes. They're listening. Uh, when the manufacturers have to reapprove a certain model, they work with the manufacturers. If it's just a matter of new components, it's not quite the entire testing that it would be before. There are a lot of things where they will accommodate the manufacturer to help them get the component added. But it really depends on that model, what restrictions they have within their listing. And so
Yeah.
the bigger manufacturers are learning ways to do it to where they don't have to keep going through the testing, where they will only make certain small incremental changes that don't
Yeah.
change the basic structure.
Okay.
Um, Thank you for coming on, Ken. I appreciate it. I would like to extend this conversation further and be able to pick your brain. I feel like a layperson, and I've been doing this for 20 years. Just because some of these things I don't understand. I'm not in the middle of it. Um, do you have a service that you provide to installers like Robert and I to evaluate our language and our processes? Like just what you had said, like having the customer document that they got the manual, right? And that you've gone through the maintenance and you've gone through the safety, which may only be 3 or 4 pages with them. I never did think about that. So, do you offer a service where you can provide guidance for installers like us?
I'd be happy to help you set something up. I don't offer that service because I don't charge for this stuff. This is all volunteer stuff I do.
Yeah.
Maintain the position
Jeez.
I do in the committees. I don't accept anything for what I do in this stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I think that kind of keeps it honest. What do you what do you think,
Oh
Robert?
yeah, I like it. I
Yeah.
mean, you know, it's just in the past couple years with the podcast stuff going on with different stuff and YouTube videos out there, you heard about the forums and all that, but
Mhm.
but you didn't hear about this part. You document everything. Document, hey, you don't have a safety loop on the outside.
Yep.
You don't have an edge pad, or you don't have fall protection. You don't have this, and so on and so on. And that needs to be taught too, as young technicians or experienced technicians, to have confidence in your job, that I dotted all my I's and crossed all my T's, and just make sure I did everything the best of my ability and communicated with my customer. Because I'm telling you, there's schools, there's commercial properties, all over the United States where people don't want to pay to have an extra safety loop.
Yeah.
They don't want to
Mhm.
uh, have two safety loops. They want one exit loop, but no safety loops. And that really ticks me off, because this is a school.
Yep.
Yeah.
You're supposed to have all the safety stuff, but the maintenance people there, they have no clue about what we're talking about.
It's a lot of people miss the opportunity afterwards to send a follow-up estimate to say, look, just so you know, here's the estimate to bring yourself up to compliance to be 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, I bet that could be a sticking point in a legal proceeding, huh?
You'd be surprised how many people turn around and buy it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They do eventually, especially whenever a truck's coming through with a trailer and they pass through the exit loop and then stop right there in the gate and it boom and pull off and bend the gate and then they'll put the loop in then.
Yeah, it's good money those days.
Yeah.
So, Ken, from an installer standpoint, how would two guys like us stay involved with what's going on and what changes are coming down the pipe? And who would we? Is there anybody out there that's an advocate that you know of for the installer?
There's some great groups around on the fencing side and gate side. You've got AFA, you've got the Fence Workers Association. You have these various groups within that you really should work with, and that's the best place to start.
Yeah.
Certifications really help. The
Yeah.
IDA, AFA is involved in those certifications. It's not being written just by door guys. There is an industry effort to get those in, and the guys that are putting together. Even I've seen Chamberlain's involvement. I've seen several manufacturers
Okay.
being involved in this, and they're doing a great job. They
Yeah.
really
Oh,
are.
well, that's good to know.
For those, it's incredible information.
Well, that's good to know. I think you bring a peace and calm over this storm that some of these people may be having. One of our listeners had a question for you, and then we'll let you go. But before we let you go, thank you so much for taking time. And
I'm usually
oh, cool. Well, it won't be the last time. If it's cool with Robert, it's definitely cool with me that we
Yeah,
got
we're
you on.
gonna have you on some more. Anytime you want to come on, you're more than welcome to.
That's exactly it. So,
even though
well, good. We appreciate it. So this is what Pat. He was just on right before you. He said, do you do a site planning safety checklist? In your experience, have you found gate technicians doing this? Do you have one that you recommend, or just go off the manufacturer's manual?
well, ours was set up through Service Titan, and so
Oh, cool.
at least on the wood company I help, but I contract with about 50 different companies, and so if someone needs help on a certain project, I'll go help them as long as we can make it affordable. Uh, but the site planning safety checklist, we have that built into our Service Titan software. So if we pull up and send someone out to do an install of a certain product, then they go through a certain series of questions on the checklist.
Okay.
All right.
I could see if I can get a copy of that to you.
Well, I think probably what would be helpful is maybe give us some pointers on how we can create it ourselves. That way, it's not anything that anybody's holding you to, and also the people. It'll make people think, because their environment may be a little bit different than ours, where we don't get any rain here, and the first class I do in Southern California, where they don't get any rain, I got rain all 3 days, man. Well, Ken, you're more than welcome to come to the Finch University. One of my primary instructive methods right now. Anytime we have class coming up, shameless plug, March 3rd and 4th. Which is just in a couple of weeks. So please stop by that. We would love any pointers or advice that we can get from you. And yeah, 3rd and 4th. It should be Monday and a Tuesday.
That's in Vegas?
That's in Vegas. Yep.
Sweet. I'll see if I can make it.
Yeah, it'll be 8 to 4. So you're more than welcome to come by for lunch. And anytime, if you want to sit through the whole class, we would love to have an expert's opinion on what we may be missing. I've learned a lot. Actually, it's kind of frustrating because Brian and I disagree on so many things, but I've actually learned a lot what fencers want from him. It's just like, dude, put a screwdriver in their hand and tell everybody to go hook up this multi-code receiver. That's what they want. And my thing is like, all right, let me show you low impedance on this multimeter because you're going to use it one time in 10 years. So let me waste 15 minutes of your time to show you that. So yeah, hopefully we see you at class, and thank you, and we'll have you on again. Okay.
Sounds great. Thanks, guys.
All right.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
kid. Have a good night. Man, I told you, man. That's the dude I've been wanting forever, man.
Yeah.
He seems like he knows what he's talking about.
Yeah, it was good
Kinda.
conversation.
Yeah. He knows what he's doing. So, yeah, I met him at the first Finch show, which probably when you and I met first time,
Yeah.
in the
I think
Automatic
I
booth.
met him this past year.
Oh, did you?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I saw him
yeah.
out there.
Well, this year we'll get him on the podcast, or get him on the show, at the Finch show. So yeah, I just, man, it's just intimidating to go up to some of these guys that work for these big and small corporations and go, hey, dude, can you explain to me this? But luckily, Ken, he's not confirming what I'm saying is right, but I think that he likes the idea of that the manual is really what we're talking about.
Yeah, that's what I was
Just go by the
saying
manual.
the whole time is, look at the manual, figure what class um your operators in, residential, commercial, industrial, and then figure out 1 through 5. Read the manual. It tell you everything that has to be on there.
Yeah. Well, man, that one we hit on all cylinders on that show, didn't we?
Oh yeah, man. And we had Barry Nix,
Very
um,
next.
door and gate, um,
And Fence.
not said denomination,
Denomination. All right, my son, you are now blessed in this denomination. It's probably like a church from what it
door
sounds like.
domination.
Door domination. Yeah. We thank Barry. That's for sure. He
Yeah.
is an expert marketing agency
Yes.
for fence, gate, and garage doors.
Garage doors, and
He
he's
touches all of
got
them.
it
Yeah.
going pretty good. And check his website out. And he's got a book too. And go on Amazon and get his book.
Yeah, go on Amazon, get his book. As a matter of fact, for those guys that are actually joining a little bit late and you didn't get to hear Barry's information, that's why it's being recorded, so you can go back and watch. However,
Definitely.
if you want, for those people that are just now joining, he said that he would take $250 off the first month, and you can schedule a free session with him, and he'll go through your competitors' websites and give you an evaluation of what they look like and what yours looks like. He also has 2 free resources on there: top 50 keywords for garage doors, gates, and fences, and then or he's updating the one for gates. So and then you
Yeah.
can also download your digital marketing strategy checklist. So please treat that with respect as somebody that gives out free content, and don't just try to get a free book or free lesson just to get it. Please do that with respect, and if you're interested in those services, call him. Doesn't mean that you have to buy it from him, but don't just do it just to do it, because some of y'all are cheap like me, and I would do it just to do it.
All
But
businessmen are cheap.
yeah, ain't
All
that the
poor
truth?
businessmen, and there's a few rich businessmen. They're the cheapest people out there in the world. You know what I mean? We eat at
Amen.
McDonald's for dollar menu
Yeah.
and go get on the treadmill.
Well, so we had Barry on. That was pretty informative, and we talked about Nextdoor. If you ain't using Nextdoor, man, you need to, because
Yeah.
I use that as a lead generation machine right up until my market got really saturated with
Yeah.
handymen doing gate operators. But hey, that's Dallas Fort Worth for you. And then we talked to Pat. Oh, Pat jumped on and told us about how he liked the LE 500.
And how
And
he likes the mega towers.
oh yeah, yeah. And then he says, "Send me a PM, and I'll send you the checklist I use." That's pretty generous. See, that's what this
Yes,
is
yes,
about: getting that
yes.
community together and dropping down some of these barriers.
Yeah,
Dropping
because you
down
know
the.
what? We can use this stuff, and then when somebody asks for it, we can give it to somebody, you know?
Yeah, let's take all of Pat's ideas and give it to everybody.
Yeah.
Well, and then we have Pat on. That's why by the way, guys, if you are interested in being on the show, this is not something that we have to follow the letter step by step. We do go on in about 20, 30 minutes. We start all of our little, what they call lower thirds. That's what you see down here in the bottom. And we get a game plan together after thinking about it for a week. But if you guys want to jump on and ask questions, just put in the comments, hey, send me a link to get on, and we'll get you on with
Get you
your
on.
video. Get it on, baby.
Put you on TV. Mom, I want to be on TV.
Look at there, Mabel. Look, you can see me on there.
Yeah.
But yeah, then we talked to Pat. Pat gave us some information. See, Pat is a LA 500 believer, and he said he doesn't like the LA 400 as much because the front bracket, I think.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, that was one thing about the U.S. Automatic Patriot that I liked about the Ranger, that front eyelet, you could do uphill swing gates and all that stuff because that eyelet's adjustable. And that's what he's talking about, right? That little
Yeah.
pressed thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just got a little play in it, But,
Yeah.
it just depends on where you're putting it at. So,
Apollo came up with whoever it is now, Nice or High Security or whatever it is now. They came
it's
up with the little. What is it now?
It's US armor now.
A U.S. armor. Is it? No, it ain't.
Yeah. Yes, it is.
No.
I've
Oh,
called them.
Apollo?
Yes, I've called and talked with them.
No, Apollo. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So you're saying Apollo is owned by U.S. Armor,
Yes.
and I'm saying Apollo is owned by High Security. If anybody out there has an opinion on it, please put it on the bottom.
They got bought out.
Well, see, American Armor, they make, from what I understand, the people that install them make a good gate operator, and I think they make the control board, but the arm is almost like that old school Apollo arm. And the one thing I liked about that Apollo arm, it was easy to adjust the limits.
I got one of them. I got a set of them right out here on my porch getting rained on.
Oh, do you?
And I took them down. But when I went to price it to get a new one, I had to go to American Armor to get them. They said they're the only ones that made them.
Well,
And it
that
says,
may be true. That may, you know what? Maybe that's it. Maybe American Armor bought that design from Apollo or something like that.
because I
But
saw them at the fence show this past year.
right, and they said that we own Apollo, or you
Yeah.
didn't get into that far.
That's the understanding that I've got.
What was
I
that?
could be wrong, but that's what I was getting because I was trying to
man.
find the price on them, and that's where I was led
I'm
to.
wrong all the time. Look at this fucking haircut. God
I
damn, I'm
know.
wrong about that,
I
right?
know.
No, I'm wrong all the time. So I get it. That's why I'd love to have anybody's opinion about that, just
Yeah.
for a technician's sake, just so they know who to call when they got it. Justin was saying that Nextdoor is a great resource. You might want to check that out, Robert, because it's real easy. But it's interesting to know that he was saying don't point it back to your business page, point it back to your website, which makes sense. But yeah, that I put an Apollo Titan arm in, or it was nice. It says on the thing, it said nice arm in, and a 310 board, but the 310 board didn't have maglock, so I had or maglock output, so I had to put 1150 in. Old Brian Davis helped me out with that one. But anyways,
thanks Brian for coming on too.
Oh yes, man. We had Brian, we had Pat, we had Barry Nix, we had Kim Martin. That's the most people we've ever had on one show, and that's
awesome.
probably what. Yeah, that really is. We want more people that are out there that are technicians, because every time that you technicians come on here, we actually learn something. So this gate operator isn't good in that environment. You can do this with this gate operator, like what Pat was saying, how he hasn't rebuilt the LA 500, but he's gone in there to modify the cable that goes probably to make a longer one or something like that.
Oh yeah.
So
well,
Well, is this? I know it's bedtime on your end. It's definitely
Yeah.
bedtime on my end.
Well, guess
Is
what?
Amber's about to break in there and yell at you?
Well, probably.
Oh yeah.
Welcome to another good episode of Two Smooth Operators. Peace. The only podcast about
Only
gate operator life
about gate
for
operator life.
technicians.
Ooh, technicians. I never heard that before. When did you put the technicians part in there? Uh-oh. Ladies and gentlemen. Oh, when did you put the technicians part in there?
Yeah, man.
Did it always have the technicians, the
Yeah.
the the show for technicians?
Yep.
Oh, okay. See y'all in SLC, Salt Lake City. Be a good opportunity to meet Ken in Salt Lake City. I'm going to be
Yep.
up there Tuesday and Wednesday, and Robert's got stuff to do, but we
I
might get
gotta
him on
work.
a plane. Yeah, he got to work. So, but that's it. So one half will be there, the better
Yep.
half, and the other
The
half will
better
be
half.
the better half will be out there
I'll be
making
there
that money.
virtually.
Yeah, that's right, man. You will be. So, look, I think that was the best episode that we've had, man. We've
Yeah,
got to
that
do
was
more like
awesome.
that. I don't know about 2 hours long, but that was a lot of information. People can skip around if they want. So, let's do that. Hold on. So, the outro is the same as the intro? Oh, okay.
I believe I gotta work on that one. But
So,
I got
if
the
you
outro right here.
want. All right, let's hear it.
Two smooth operators. Your hosts, Robert Evers and Michael Brooks. Please stay